Do you know on Dante yet for Friday?
He scrimmaged today, practiced, and as long as he's okay tomorrow, which we assume he will be, but as long as the training staff clears him tomorrow, then he'll play Friday.
Was Andre able to do more than usual today?
Yeah, but it's still nothing alive.
So definitely not Friday, right?
No.
Okay. What did you guys? Sounds like you went pretty hard today.
Yeah. The young guys went really hard. Our first hour of practice when the older guys are in the training room, younger guys got a really good scrimmage in, a lot of work, and then when the older guys came out, we did a couple of defensive sessions, worked on our defending without fouling. A few transition defensive drills, some scrimmaging. So it was a good day's work. Tomorrow will be a lot lighter with the game the following day.
This is a two-parter for two different guys. But how did you think Jonathan Kamiga responded, to not being out of the rotation, then being added back into it? Have you seen maybe an extra level of motivation or effort out of him? Answer that first.
Yeah, we've been communicating every day, and I thought he handled the other night really well. I told him he was going to be back in the rotation, and he was in the first half and was not in the second, but he came in today and just played and worked really, really hard. Great approach. That's what we're looking for every day from our young players. It's a really tough thing to go through an NBA season as a young guy without a ton of experience dealing with the ups and downs, but you have to. That's such a big part of it because there's 82 games and so many roller coaster rides within that, and you've got to find a sense of equilibrium. And I think that's a big focus right now. And he's doing a really good job of just putting his head down and working.
And then on the flip side, James Wiseman, he went from being and then not playing the last game. How did he react to it, and what have you seen in his response? I talked to him before the game. I told him, he wouldn't be in the initial rotation, but that you always have to stay ready because you never know how a game's going to go. As I expected, he handled it beautifully and came in and put in a ton of work today. Really played hard. Did exactly what I had expected and hoped from him, which is just continuing to work. And I will keep harping on the fact that these development plans and projects are with the big picture in mind. And so, while everyone wants instant gratification, it just doesn't work that way. But I'm thrilled with both guys, their character, their work ethic, their absorption of the lessons we're giving them, and they're staying with it. So that's the main thing.
How would you categorize where Andre is at right now? Last time we spoke to him, he said he's close. There might even be a date in mind, but if he's not scrimmaging yet, what does that mean?
Just means he's not close to playing in a game. And it also means we're going to take our time. Again, as we talked about in preseason, we want Andre healthy, for the backstretch. So he's not going to play in a game anytime soon, but he's continuing to work and ramp up the quality of his work.
You guys have kind of talked a little bit about defenses, I guess viewing Jordan differently, defending him differently. What does that look like on the court? I mean, what is he seeing that's
he's getting the best defender each night. Some of that is, a year ago for the first 50 games he started, and he was getting maybe the third best defender on the perimeter. So now he's getting the very best because teams know he's the key to our second group. So he's facing more high-level defenders and I think more game planning. And frankly, we've had a lot of different rotations out there with him. So we haven't found our footing as a team rotation wise. And that hasn't helped Jordan. We need to find some consistency in terms of the combinations of guys he's playing with.
On finding the rotation and also what you were saying previously about balancing the long term for your young players, what's the thought process in playing your two-way guys, Ty and Anthony Moore, like in last game, and is that going to be the case moving forward?
Well, the thought process is, when you're struggling and you don't have a rhythm, and you don't have consistency, veteran players are going to be able to provide that more than young players are. And so, Ty and Anthony are both, relatively young, but 4-year college players. They've learned a lot more. They've absorbed a lot more than our younger guys. And so they're more capable of allowing different groups to click, defending without fouling. You've seen, Lamb, you just watched Lamb, every defensive play on the interior, he's here instead of in here. And so as we're trying to clean up our defense, it's Ty, same thing. He defends without fouling. He doesn't turn the ball over. Those are crucial things when our margin for error is really slim. And so as we get going and our vets, Clay, Jordan really start to get in a groove, I think it'll be easier to find different combinations and blend in some of our young guys. But for right now, it's important that we try to establish some principles with our team, and veteran guys are more likely to be able to do that.
Steve, how is the plus minus stat viewed by different coaches across the league, and how much of it, if any, do you use it to evaluate your guys?
I think it's important. I think it's you got to look at it big picture, though. It can't be a small sample size, because you can watch a game and like the other night, I thought, the end of the first quarter, they went on a 10-0 run or 12-0 run or something. We had a defensive breakdown. We didn't close out onto Monk. And then we missed a couple layups. And then, Monk makes another 3, and that's, a quick 6-0. Really one mistake in there defensively that cost us. But if you look at plus minus, if he misses that shot, even with our mistake, and we make the 2 layups, and it's a +4, did we play any better than what we did? Not really. But if you look at it over a number of games or a season, there's a reason Steph Curry, Draymond Green are so on the plus side, because you get a big sample size, and that stuff tends to be pretty accurate.
After the last game, Draymond and Steph had like a pretty long embrace at center court. You would think that they just won like a playoff series or something, but the camera panned to the bench and it just seemed a little bit lethargic. And in past years with like Damian Lee and Gary Payton II, like there was a lot of energy with that bench unit, but it just seemed like maybe it wasn't there. Is that a concern for you, or how important is it for the bench to be engaged even when they're not playing?
It's very important. We're still trying to find ourselves as a team. And, we've been losing. We're obviously, 4-7, not where we want to be. The young guys are trying to find their way. We're trying to find our way with our combinations. So we haven't found the momentum that we're looking for. And a little bit of the chicken and the egg conversation here. You generally, see more energy and more joy when a team's winning. But on the other hand, if you can bring that, it tends to lead to winning as well. So I think right now we're trying to find ourselves. We've got, a lot of different, things happening at the same time. Some vets who haven't found their groove yet, young guys, figuring out their roles, us figuring out combinations. And so we, as a team, have not found that that combination, that balance that we always talk about between being super competitive and really joyful on the floor, because that's what our team is built on. We've got to keep working to find that balance, because that's what it's all about.
Some of the numbers show that James isn't making a lot of hard contact setting screens. Where do you want to see him get better as far as setting screens, and what should make him so dangerous as a screen setter?
It's a little difficult. It's very difficult as a young player to set good, solid screens, because the refs will call a lot of illegal screens if you're not set. So sometimes if you get called for one, then you get a little gun shy in the next one, and maybe you don't want to make contact for fear of fouling. James has a lob threat. Sometimes we teach him to slip the screen. If the defender is too high, we don't even want him setting the screen. We want him diving to the rim, looking for the lob. But you have to learn all that. And, it's just a process, especially with young guys who have very little college experience before this. It just takes time. But, Looney became one of the best screeners in the league after a couple of years, and Draymond too. Those guys would tell you, early on, it was something that they had to learn. Draymond learned it from Bogut. Loon learned from Draymond, and, Wise has to learn from those guys, but it takes time.
Talking about Jordan earlier, I mean, you mentioned, him having to lead the second unit, which I assume he kind of still will need to do, but you did throw him with the starters to start the second half. I guess, is that a thought moving forward now that you've had a few days? And also, do you want to just, even if it's not starting or is, do you want to see him more with those guys?
Well, it's, we're throwing all that stuff into the hopper right now, and there's a lot of different thoughts as to what we could do or what we should do. You could make the same case for JK or Wise. You say, well, if we play them with this group, that'll make the game easier, and maybe that gets this person going, maybe that gets that person going. But you also have a starting group that has the best 5-man net rating in the league. I think they're still at the top. If not, they're right near the top. So there's no clear answer, as to how to best try to get guys going. But I'm always a believer that a team finds its way as long as everybody commits and competes together, and that'll happen with us. We've got too good of a team. Our guys are high character guys. We'll find our way, but that's going to include more, experimentation from us as a staff, and players just, having to commit to each other and see where it all goes.
How helpful is a personality like Looney in a process like this, where, I mean, you can go to him, like you said, he's part of the best 5-man unit in the NBA, and it's just like, hey, come off the bench while we try something.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons, Loon is he's so professional. He understands not only the sacrifice it takes, to be on a good team, but he understands how to stay ready regardless of what his role is. And, I've taken him out of the starting lineup and put him back in, and, a dozen times over the years. And no matter what I do, he's just going to be rock solid. So that's a big part of his value. The other hand, I don't want to penalize a guy for being professional. I'd rather reward guys for being professional. But there's certain guys, and I think Loon learned a lot from Andre. They just get it, and they become pros, and they part of their value is just in their deep understanding and of what's happening, and their confidence in them and their ability to help the team regardless. Thanks.
Great. A couple guys up here.